Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Eleanor and today I'm going to talk about the Inkworld trilogy by Cornelia Funke. The first portion of this video I'm going to talk about the trilogy as a whole, and there's going to be no spoilers because this is to encourage you to pick up this series, and thereafter I'll put a spoiler warning and then I'm going to talk about each book individually and a little bit of spoilers. I'm just going to go a bit more in depth about what I love about this series. I was buddy reading this trilogy with Faye and Kayla. I'll leave their channels linked below. Both Faye and I have read this series multiple times, and we read them when we were younger, but both of us, it had been about 10 years since we'd reread the series, and Kayla was reading the books for the first time. I think Kayla got halfway through Inkheart before she decided to DNF it. I think she just wasn't gelling with the writing style and just couldn't get into it, which is fine, but I'm a bit sad that she didn't love it as much as Faye and I did. But we continued on with this buddy read and had such a great time, and I'm hoping at some point in the future we can maybe have a live show or film a video together where we can talk about all our favourite parts about the book. I'd really love that. So yeah, a quick overview of what the Inkworld trilogy is. No spoilers, obviously. You open up in Inkheart with Mo and Maggie, and they're a father-daughter duo. Maggie's mother vanished when she was a very small child, and they don't know where she is, what's happened to her. So Maggie and her father, who she calls Mo, she doesn't ever call him father, grew up together. Mo is a bookbinder, so they travel all across Europe. It's set in Italy, but I believe they do travel a bit farther afield in Europe, where he repairs old books. He's a bookbinder, that's what he does. So they're always on the road in their wee van, and they both have a passion for reading and books and stuff like that. And I believe that's one of the reasons why I love this series so much, because it is centred around reading. I'm going to have to put these books down, these are really heavy. Put them there. Yes, at the start of each chapter, I'll just show you chapter 1, there's a quote from a famous book. So this first one is The Children of Green No by L.M. Boston. I don't know that book at all, but there's so many books in here. Like there's a chapter 3, The Wind in the Willows is quoted, and that's just a lovely touch, and it really hammers home the connection to reading and books and storytelling and these other worlds and this connection that people have with reading. I just think it's a lovely touch, and that continues through the whole trilogy. Is before each chapter is a quotation. It's lovely. So back to the main story. So a stranger comes like knocking in the night at the beginning of the book, and Maggie doesn't really know what's going on. There's some secrets revealed. They end up travelling to Mo's, I don't know how to describe who she is. She's called Aunt Eleanor, and it's Maggie's aunt, so it's Maggie's mother's aunt. I think, yeah. So it's Maggie's great aunt, I suppose. They end up travelling to see her, and she has this beautiful big old house, and it's empty of everything except books. She's just got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of books, and she collects and buys really very expensive books. You meet a whole host of characters, both good and bad. There's lots of problems and troubles ensue. There's a bit of like magic in here, and it takes a wee while for you to work out who's got power and what's going on. I'm trying to be vague here. And then there's people after them, and they end up in a place where they shouldn't be, and there's just lots going on. And sorry if the lighting's changed. I just realised I didn't have my ring light on, which is ridiculous because my phone in like my camera stand is attached to the ring light, and I still just forget to turn it on. And also sorry if you can hear the jingling bell, that's my cat running about with his noisy toll. Anyway, so distracted. So then Mo and Maggie go on an adventure. Their Aunt Eleanor is involved. They meet lots of like scary people. There's dangerous situations, and it is just like a fantasy adventure. You're trying to work out what this magical element is. You're trying to work out how this book and storytelling interweaves, you just meet so many interesting characters, and they've all got really fascinating backstories, and I think that's all I can really say without spoiling it. Yeah, it's just a really, really fun series, and I think it holds up. Originally published, I can't even remember when. It was originally published in Germany in 2003, because the book is translated. It was originally written in German. Cornelia Funke is German. How many times can you say German? And then it was translated into English and published in 2004. So yeah, I definitely think this story holds up. Not much in this book pertains to like technology anyway, so it's not like it is hugely aged, and I just think this is well worth a shot if you love reading and storytelling and fantasy. And then this first book, so much happens, such a cliffhanger, and then you go on to the subsequent books and it's just such a good time. Anyway, that ends the spoiler-free portion of this video. So if you are interested in picking these books up and you don't want to be spoiled, click away now. I'm really sorry if you can hear my cat. So I really love Inkworld. I just think it's a really great Inkworld. I really love Inkheart. I just think it's a really great setup book. You meet like Dustfinger's a brilliant character, and then later on when you meet like Capricorn and all these other characters, they just interweave into the story so well, and the whole idea of characters being read out of books is just so fascinating to me, and it's just one of those books that it makes you really, really think and imagine. As like a lover of books and a big reader myself, and I have been my whole life, it's just made me think and question all the other books I would love to meet characters of and be involved with. I just think it's such a fascinating, magical concept, and it's just brilliant. I do think this first book is, although it is a good setup story, it is a little bit slow, and it can feel like it can take a little bit of a while to get to the point. But overall, with how the next two books go, I think it works really well, and I just love the way it ends. I like the character of Eleanor. I think she's really, really interesting, but as we go through the subsequent books, she does annoy me more and more. I just think she's quite a selfish character, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you do have to have characters who have their flaws and stuff, but her obsession with wanting to be in the book too just kind of makes her actions and decisions quite selfish and makes things difficult for other people, and I think sometimes that annoyed me a wee bit. I don't know if that's as prevalent in this first book. In Inkspill, we're kind of split, kind of half and half, between being with the characters in Inkworld and then the characters in our real world, because some people are in Inkworld and some people aren't. At this point, Farid is really, really trying to get Maggie to read him into the book, because he wants to chase after Dustfinger, who went back into Inkworld at the end of the first book. I don't like this book as much. Like, in terms of the books, like I like Inkheart, and then I like Inkspill more than Inkheart, and then I like Inkdeath more than the other two. So they get progressively better, because this is way more fantastical and fantasy based, because you're now in this world. You meet way more characters. The plot of this book is just really interesting, and you flick back and forth. You learn more about Fenengulu. I'm not very good at saying that. The author of Inkworld, and he's now in this world too, and that was his dream as soon as he found out that that's what Mo could do. He wanted to be in this world. So when Farid and Maggie follow Dustfinger into Inkworld, they then realise that Fenengulu is there too. He's a really interesting character, and you like him to begin with, and as you go through the rest of the book and the next book, you kind of slowly like him a bit less and less, because he still treats this as his story, even though as time goes on it evolves and has a life of its own. Things have changed, things have adapted. He's not in charge anymore, and he can't let that go, so he just causes lots of problems and makes lots of mistakes. This again is a long book, and it does take quite a while to get to the main crux of the story, and you meet so many more interesting characters. I like the character of Roxanne a lot. She was kind of waiting for Dustfinger to come back, but I like her character because she does kind of forgive him, but not really. He has to earn her trust back a bit, and I just like the fact that she's like a healer and she's well respected within her circle of people, and there's just so many wonderful characters in this story. I did love like the ingenious idea of trying to beat the Adderhead in terms of making him the book and what it does in terms of granting him immortality, but then there's a secret clause that they can fix that. But I think a theme running through these books is a lot of miscommunication, and I think that's something that annoys me just a little bit. And that is because this is for like younger readers, this isn't an adult series. So to look at it again as an adult and see these things and know that they kind of annoy you a wee bit, but it didn't lessen my enjoyment of rereading this. And I just think the Inkworld is just so interesting. And then we'll go on to the last book. Although I feel like I should have just summarised my thoughts about this trilogy as a whole instead of trying to do it individually for each book, because I think a lot of my thoughts are overarching. An idea that I loved and thought was quite strange is that when you finish Ink Death and you get to the end of the trilogy, that's you kind of realise that you never actually knew the original story of Inkheart. Like Mo has read it countless times. Fenenglo wrote it and is obsessed with this world. They're then in this world for a very long time. They meet so many of these characters that are integral to the original story, but you still never actually know what the original story plot was. All you know is Dustfinger's fate. And I just think that was quite strange to realise in the end that you didn't actually know what the original story was, because I think in the end it didn't matter because they got read into the story and they changed it so drastically. Another aspect I really loved was Finengo's stupidity in terms of making Mo the kind of template for his Blue Jay and making all these songs up, and then Mo kind of takes on these extra characteristics of the Blue Jay and being like the robber and like the kind of Robin Hood of the story, but then Finengo doesn't really take responsibility for that. He totally denies that he had anything to do with it and that he didn't have that kind of influence on Mo because Mo's from the real world. And that just shows again that Finengo just thinks this is all a dream and fake and doesn't have real world consequences in a way. He's just kind of like not tuned into the fact that this is real, and he's still just imagining that this is his book and his world and he's in control, and he's really not by this book. He's totally lost control, totally lost the thread of the story. So then this last book is just about them trying to get back this book they made in the last one and actually kill the Adderhead and defeat all the bad guys and live happily ever after. It was basically the whole sum of it. This one they're really trying to bring Dustfinger back, and it's like Farid's whole battle with that as well. I also kind of appreciate the relationship that Farid and Maggie had, because in the end Maggie doesn't stay with Farid. She doesn't want to be in a relationship with him anymore. My cat biting my ankles. She doesn't want to be in a relationship with him anymore because he's not put her first. He's so all-consuming and obsessed with getting Dustfinger back that he kind of neglects her and her relationship and how she feels. And I just think it was nice that in the end they didn't end up together because, you know, he kind of treated her poorly. And I really love, what's the name? I can't remember. That's really bad, I don't remember the name. Yeah, Doria is who Maggie ends up with. And I think that's really lovely because you can actually see their kind of relationship grow and change throughout the book. It's not just at the end Maggie decides she's not going to be with Farid, so she'll just randomly be with this other random person. You see their relationship grow and strengthen and develop through the book, and I think that really shows how much Maggie has grown up and matured. I quite liked the relationship between Momo and Reza, but a lot of it is like seen through a kind of like child's lens, and I think as I'm older now I realise how much of a difficult position Mo put Reza in because Mo kind of became the Blue Jay and things like that, but there was so much miscommunication in this story. You know, everyone wanted to keep everyone else safe by not telling the truth or saying things, and it would only happen in a fantasy story. Like in the real world you wouldn't run off and do all these things, but I just think that's what makes it a great story. so many good things happen, so many bad things happen. And at the end of the day, I just think the world's so fun and interesting. Like the glass men are amazing, the fairies are amazing, like the giants. This world is just so well crafted and well written. And I just love the kind of magic element of being able to hop into worlds. I mean, this is portal fantasy. In another sense, it's like going through the wardrobe to Narnia. This is just in a different fashion, but it really made me imagine and think, what would that be like to be in any other of my favourite books? And Eleanor annoyed me in this one a little bit as well. I'm not 100% keen on her points of views, because this is where again I think she's quite a selfish character, and I do like her for that, because it's nice to not have every character be perfect and really nice and amazing. She was just so obsessed with getting into Inkworld, and part of it is because she wants to be with her family again, but also part of it is very selfish. She just wants to be in this world. She's trying to force Darius, who's like sticking with her and helping her out and being really selfless in his way of sticking around and helping her, and she's trying to force him to do something that he's not comfortable doing. And in a way that kind of rubs me the wrong way, because she was kind of bullying him a little bit. And then she gets her own way, comes into this world and just steamrolls through, and is really good in some places and a little bit annoying in others. But I don't think that's bad. She's not a bad character. That's just her character. She's very real, very human, and it's so realistic. And that's what I love about this. Like, all these characters feel real. They all have good qualities and bad qualities. There's lots of miscommunication. There's lots of mistakes made. They all make really bad mistakes, like really, really huge errors that cause lots and lots of problems. So many people get hurt. So many bad things happen. And I just think that's what makes this such a good story. It's so realistic in as much as it can be. Like, there are real consequences, and I just think it's great. I think that was a very, very rambly summation about what I love. I really should sit properly before I do one of these videos and collect my thoughts a bit more cohesively, instead of being so off the cuff that I'm all over the place. But yeah, also, this is my favourite cover out of the three. I just think it's really beautiful. I love the colours and the bone hand. Lost word there. Sorry, my cat is just collecting pens into a little pile. Yeah, so overall, I really love this series. I really love this reread, and I will want to talk to Faye about all the things that she likes and dislikes. I feel like there's so many things I've missed that I love about this trilogy, and I've tried to put in a few things that are negatives too, or on balance, just so it's not totally unbelievably gushing. I'm sure there is lots of things about this book that aren't great, but I have so much nostalgia with this series that maybe that is clouding my judgment slightly. I haven't read this again. Like I last reread this like over 10 years ago. Also, recently heard the other day that Cornelia Funke is actually writing a fourth and final book for this world. I don't know where it's set, who the characters are. I don't know anything about it. I think she started writing it in 2017, and it'll be released later this year, which is insane to think that we did this reread and they're coming out with another book. And like, how many years since the last one came out? 14-year gap. Oh, my cat. You're being so annoying. Yeah. This is a mess. Look at him. What are you doing? Yes, so I'm actually really excited, and Faye and I are going to buddy read that when it comes out as well. I'm hoping it comes out in an English translation quite quickly after it's published in Germany, because I'm really, really excited to see what characters it is, where it goes from there. Are you wanting on my shoulder? What are you wanting? You want to just cuddle? So I'd love to know if you've ever read Inkworld, and what you thought of it, or if it's been a long time since you read it. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments. I really love this series. I enjoyed this reread so much, and I would encourage you all to pick up the books if you ever see them. And yeah, thank you for watching. If I ever do do a video with Faye. I'll leave it linked in the description. I'll come back to this video. But thank you for watching. Please be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.